happening, but I think these are going to be some pretty tight matches. I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, let's take a look at that. I mean, let's talk about the lineup. Citrus Nation, we got some big names here. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Citrus Nation. I mean, they have a pretty deep roster, right? You see, Kuffa there in terms of, another tank option, right? Zeb looks like in the starting lineup here today. But I'm looking at Tap has been a really strong damage dealer when we've seen him in the lineups for Citrus Nation. So excited to see this team play. I think one where we looked at Fluffy Dreamland. We were talking about, Energy Shock, right? I know maybe they're the #2 team in NA. Fluffy Dreamland upsets them. I think this is a Citrus Nation team that is like on the cusp of getting into that, top 4 conversation.
Yeah, I'm really glad we're starting with this match because this is the rematch of the lower bracket stage 3 match where Citrus Nightmare, now known as Citrus Nation, got rid of the Nightmare power, won in game 5 over TSM to knock them out in that point. So that's why I think this is going to be a really important match also for circuit points because TSM are in 4th, Citrus Nation in 5th, and they're just within arm's reach of NTMR to possibly qualify for points, but you do have to go pretty deep in this bracket.
Yeah, definitely this is an important match for both of the teams. I think we are having a bit of difficulty with the graphics for TSM roster, so we're gonna skip ahead and
they're starting a bunch of players today.
Yeah, you guys will find out.
Players will be playing.
Surprise. We'll find out soon enough. Okay, let's look at the viewer prediction. I guess Citrus Nation is sort of favored, 56%, 44%. Are you guys surprised by this result, or was something that you guys expected?
Not really. I mean, like how Jen mentioned, it was a really competitive game in stage 3. I think also, Jen made a really good point in terms of like where they are in the OWCS standings, like to go deeper in the main event. Getting a #1 seed here, I think you kind of see a large gap between the 1 and 2s in each group, right? So not saying they get a guaranteed first round win, right? But it's pretty good odds they win that first round, right? So you give yourself a pretty good opportunity. Whoever loses this is going to have to go up against like a Toronto or somebody along those lines, so it puts them in a really tough spot.
Yeah. All right. I think the players are ready, so let's jump right into the match. Guys, have fun.
Awesome. I'm excited to have fun, and we didn't get to talk too much about TSM, but this is a team where you expect the unexpected. They change their heroes on the fly. They may have a set comp off the rip, but I like that they trust each other to make decisions and adapt on the fly and change to whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like with TSM, like we've had such high expectations of them like all year. I know really with this team, and obviously the roster just kind of making changes really throughout now the year. And it feels like every time we expect them to take that next step, expect them to kind of come up clutch, they really haven't. To be quite frank. So I think here, this is a huge game for them. It's like not a main event game, but it feels like it kind of is, because you lose this, you put yourself in a really difficult spot moving forward. So we do see the TSM roster, right? Lyra and Squid, the supports for this team always. I know they just have an extra damage dealer, right? So Rocket on the roster, so it'll be King and Vision here to kick things off.
Yeah, King and Vision, I hope to see Rocket later, but Vision and King are both hyper flexes. You'd think that they're more hit scan, but no, they could quite literally play anything. So do you want to be the jack of all trades? Do you want to be the master of a couple? That's what can make TSM look great and inconsistent at times. Then they go up against Citrus Nation, who a lot of weight on the shoulders of Tap as the flashy flex DPS from Citrus that is hoping to carry them to a victory if Chronic can keep up in that matchup against TSM's very lethal DPS.
Yeah, you see how they're just slowly circumventing the Wrecking Ball, right? It's so difficult to kind of cross the bridge, and the ball is at the start of the game, just causing chaos. And now it'll be Tap moving his way onto the point, where Citrus Nation coming out playing a much slower poke comp, where TSM playing that ball wants to play aggressive.
Yeah, I like this ball play from TSM, just being able to peel away the backline. Seems like that's where the focus is for Riker, finding that early pick onto neutral, which is surprising to see because with a Kiriko, you're able to teleport to someone who's playing at that off angle, and Tap is thinking he's not able to have the space and the time to poke and prod with the fire, so he goes to the Tracer.
Yeah, and the Tracer, I think, is probably a better answer against that. Pharah, I also think that there's not a lot of peel on the TSM side of things, right? So maybe you can actually, catch the Juno out. You can kind of mirror the other Tracer as well, make it a little bit easier for Chronic on the hit scan without getting pestered out by the Tracer on the other side.
And as Chronic as on a map as small as this, gonna have the time to poke at this Pharah, but coming through White Room does allow for that amount of shelter. There is the orbital ray from Lucamino. Citrus Nation quietly get onto the point and still capped by TSM, almost at 50%, and this is just a nuisance that Vision provides, just keeps rotating in and out of the point. Decent enough barrage. Citrus were able to get away, and it's still a 1-1 trade, but Citrus don't own the real estate to get the objective back, which is going to hurt their chances of coming back, but just finally the kills come through. Vision won't be able to contest, neither will Riker, so slowly but surely, Citrus are here.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit for them to flip, but they finally do. I think the benefits for TSM, right, is that you end up holding on to both support ultimates coming into the next fight. You have the minefield as well. They get up to almost 70%, really having to use nothing, where the orbital ray had to be used there by Citrus Nation to take the point. So TSM in a good spot with some of these ultimates to potentially flip it right back.
And who's going to be proactive with the Kitsune Rush? That's really what's going to kick things off. Squid and Neutral. Neutral with the trigger pulled first, establishing Citrus back on the point. TSM hiding mostly at the White Room with Vision on an off angle with the pulse bomb, and he gets slapped in the face by Tap. It's a one-man advantage for Citrus with the bomb involved in the fray, and Citrus, with this fight win, will be able to slowly but surely close the gap in the score. TSM will take some bodies with them, but it's mostly who expended what ults in this fight. Citrus winning this with the ults they still have left is big.
I mean, it's a massive fight win for Citrus Nation, right? Minefield, Pulse Bomb, both support ults used there by TSM, and Citrus Nation able to kind of kite those and win it. It's really huge there for them, as we'll see, may end up having to get the point back up. They do have a death a little bit early on towards the beginning of this fight, so they do have to give it up, but you're going to be able to come in behind Luke Camino's orbital ray. This ultimate's so strong that you rarely see a fight lost when it's popped.
And Chronic now to the Sombra to help deal with maybe just having more backline pressure. Zeb taking so much damage is what conceded the point back to TSM's side, so maybe if they focus down Zeb more, that will help. But with the orbital ray from Lucamino, this front line of Citrus Nation is doing pretty okay, and now Chronic can focus on the players hiding in Dojo from TSM. Still 97+% for TSM, waiting for the flip, and it seems like we're gonna go all the way to 99-99 to determine our first round.
Yeah, the Sombra is just great against the ball, right? The ball wants to be a constant deterrent on the point, just a nuisance, so the Sombra really effective, even still with all the changes that have happened to Hack and whatnot over the past, few years. Still really strong. It's a Terror Surge available here for Citrus Nation in Kitsune Rush. You're going to probably see a minefield, though, dropped into that rush, so not going to be able to follow it up.
Yeah, how is Zeb going to get back on this point and really anchor it for good? Because you want to start disengaging as soon as that armor is cracked, and there is the Terror Surge to maybe finish off some low HP kills, and King thought he was safe on the other side of the pillar. He'll be a victim to his own self. Citrus coming back from the deficit, cleaning up the fight once and for all, and we expected all the swaps to come out of TSM, but it was Chronic and Tap flip-flopping away to give themselves the round win.
Yeah, making some really nice adjustments. You see the ball. I mean, Wrecking Ball is just so annoying for every team to deal with, but just in general, right? The ball just being a little bit of a nuisance, really saying, hey, we don't really need to do kind of much anything else. Like, let's make sure we can just focus down this ball, right? Get that, the hacks constantly onto the Wrecking Ball. The virus comes in, tracer damage, very difficult to keep the Wrecking Ball up through all of that. So they do a nice job, making some changes going after that Wrecking Ball, and it may end up forcing a little bit of a change here at TSM.
The Tracer duel is going to be really important. TSM were able to get a lot of time on the point because of that, and able to get around a bunker-like defense like Citrus Nation. So I'm looking at Vision to, we'll see if he sticks to the Symmetra to just teleport them. No, he's going to go back to the Tracer, and both King and Vision can play the Tracer, but King is a star on the Pharah. We'll see how he can help his team get a good control in the middle of the map early.
Yeah, they decide to go back to the ball, so it looked like maybe playing the Diva at the start, they'll go back to the ball, and that's going to force the change right away from Citrus Nation, right? So they see what's on the other side, they see the still Wrecking Ball, they're going to go back to the Sombra, because this worked really well towards the end of our first point.
Yeah, and against a ball comp, you almost have to be really careful how you approach the perimeter of this point. You could easily be shoved off by Riker. As long as Zeb has Fortify, he can maybe try to be the frontline blocker in that case. And also, even playing on the point is dangerous. You're subject to taking damage from all sides. And now King at the back of the point has been a nuisance, and he has great cover playing that far deep into the objective. So it works out for TSM off the rip.
Yeah, they weren't able to punish Riker right away. They did get some hacks off, but weren't able to take him out. See, right there, he actually gets hit with a virus. Some healing, though, is going to be able to keep him alive. So we'll see now for Citrus Nation how they go about attacking the point yet again. The far damage from King into the choke is going to be really difficult to deal with.
And Citrus have to be careful how they come out of these shelter spots, because King can just be on top of a roof, and he'll let it rain on the barrage. And this could be up to the cleanse from neutral to have maybe a saving play. It's the 2-for-1, and you took care of neutral, but there's still an orbital ray, and Luke Mino is still there. He's quiet in person, but he's trying to be loud on the field, and Citrus, only with the 3 remaining, hope to get the flip going. Tap on the flank, getting after Lyre, getting him low, and that is the finish from Luke Mino to dwindle TSM down. But Vision has been pretty next level on the Tracer. He's on fire for a reason. He's paired up with his backline, and TSM end up winning.
Yeah, I mean, really difficult there for Citrus Nation. You end up popping your orbital array. You know they're going to follow up directly inside of it. It doesn't have like a huge radius, and the rocket barrage just really good there for King. 2-for-1. You'll take that trade kind of every time. So, Citrus Nation has a much tougher time breaking through this now.
Tap has a pulse while TSM find their footing. Wonder how Chronic can maybe give over information, how the rotation is going, who is where. Now he's calling out that the ball is on the point, but Riker's by himself, so they're gonna pounce on this, and they get him to below half. Maybe trying to deny the usage of those mines, but Riker will easily find his way back in, bulldozing through the competition. Mines real estate bought for TSM, 94%, and Citrus haven't been able to flip or really get a leg up. They're late to the EMP. The Kitsune rushes when you're down both your DPS. It's gonna be impossible for Citrus to turn this around, especially when they don't have the supports to do it.
Man, just a blowout here in the second round for TSM. It was the Orbital Ray Kitsune Rush used here for Citrus Nation. Lyre just moves on through. I mean, they have a minefield in the rally. I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to fight through that. So TSM, they battle back. They make good use of that Wrecking Ball in this second round. We can take a look here. So is this... Ooh, the stun. Then,
Oh no, that's not lucky.
Yeah, that's... I mean, that is a little bit unlucky. Also, there's not really much anything else. I mean, I guess he could have thrown the translocator, right? But I mean, you're just being picky at that point. I mean, there's like 98% of the point.
Yeah, I think it worked well if Tap and Chronic kind of communicated while the Sombra is invisible to move on and maybe try to go for a pulse bomb play early, and just them tunneling on the Hammond, which is so hard to kill, is a tough one, but it will be an Orisa battle for Control Center.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is actually pretty good and favorable, I would say, for Citrus Nation with how TSM has played thus far with the Wrecking Ball a lot of the time. This point is not good for Wrecking Ball. Historically, even, I mean, just any time in Overwatch's history, this has not been a good point for Wrecking Ball. So it's gonna have TSM playing that Orisa, almost a little bit of a mirror. It's actually the Cassidy with a Genji for TSM.
And a great spear from Zeb. I like to see how kind of a consistent anchor he has been. He's not hearing the voices, and just charging it to the backline, trying to be a menace. He's been very measured so far, and you need to trust Tap and Chronic to get the job done.
Yeah, it's a early fight win there for Citrus Nation, as I think you get a little bit extra, so it's not like extra value. I think it's just a little bit easier to kind of make the Tracer work than the Genji. We'll see if King can kind of access that backline, though, and as you see, I mean, the distance that you can play with, as the Ashe, just pestering from the Tracer as well. Really difficult for the Genji to live.
And the Tracer can also stretch out just the score that you have when you have possession of the point to be able to contest it and be so annoying. And also just to try and be elusive in these fights. So Tap has been a fantastic Tracer, one of the best we've had in North America, and he has to be that flashy player for Citrus Nation. This is the final round for map 1, and TSM still have to get King back on his feet. He does get the reset on Tap, and TSM work together to push Citrus off the perimeter. But here's Zeb with the orbital ray behind him with the speed to pressure back TSM and to keep the point in Citrus's favor.
Yeah, they don't really like have anybody else that benefits from the orbital array, and they end up losing a few of their players as well. They're kind of like playing up on top by the mega health pack. They get pushed out there. So King does a nice job accessing that area, and they can really get nothing for that orbital array. They kind of just throw it down. I think it's because Zeb just needs some healing just alone on the point, and I know maybe a little bit of extra staying power, make it scarier for TSM to kind of push on in. But King does a nice job putting pressure on to Chronic and Lucamino, forcing some of those plays.
And King has been around the scene for a very long time, and Genji was one of his best flex DPS options. We'll see if he can find those assassinations. Vision can get the target low enough, but right now I'm looking at King kind of almost getting drawn out by the Terra Surge. He is still living, but he needs support from his team. TSM managed to get him out. Now he's built up towards the Dragon Blade. The Bob is going to try and slow down Citrus. Now the Kitsune Rush and a whole lot of firepower. Everything on the line with Citrus Nation needing to win this fight to take the map, and it's all going well. Everything connecting on all fronts. Now a blade, but maybe too little too late for someone like King, unless he could kill 5. Citrus Nation are still alive and well.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a crazy Terra Surge blade combination yesterday. That one, not gonna make the best plays of the day highlight reel. It's difficult to kind of make it work at times there. I think it's just more desperation because where we are in terms of score, and nobody able to make it back there for TSM. So it'll be Citrus Nation taking our first map.
Big congratulations to them. A good start to the series, especially with how chaotic it can be, and for Citrus to stick to their own game against a TSM that can adapt and can change heroes on the fly. But it was Citrus that stuck a lot to the Tracer Sombra, and then eventually the Tracer Ashe. But I think it was a lot about strong Orisa play from Zeb too to just establish that front line.
Yeah, I think for TSM you get a little bit unlucky in terms of the draw of the points, right? You would have loved to have that one first and then lose that and then kind of have 2 ball points back to back, right? With how you're playing on the wrecking ball, but no, it's random, right? That's the way it goes. Is you kind of have to mirror that Orisa play there towards the end, which is exactly what Citrus Nation would have wanted to happen. So they take map number 1. It'll be interesting to see TSM, right? Some options and what they can do in map number 2, a loser pick to be able to kind of decide where we go.
And Citrus Nation went to Lijiang Tower yesterday against Team Z, and it was an unfortunate result for them. But going all the way to round 3, there's some strengths and weaknesses to Citrus Nation, but at least revisiting a map they know well. I think for TSM, eventually getting to the Genji, but it takes a sort of tempo to play around that Genji and how you sync up with Vision getting the low HP targets, and then King just being in the right place to dash in. Now it makes you wonder, are we going to see Rocket be subbed in? Because TSM have a lot of firepower in the DPS department, and if they are worried about a Tracer matchup, they may want to recruit Rocket in.
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic on the Tracer, right? That's the EMP we saw from Chronic that doesn't exactly work out. I think it'll be really telling what they feel like going into this next map, right? Do they want to continue to play the ball? Do they feel like, okay, even if they play Sombra Tracer, we can still make this Wrecking Ball work? It's a nice Suzu there to protect some of the damage that would have came through from the blade there, but if you're not really scared of that Sombra type of look, then you can play the Wrecking Ball. Maybe if you are, you try and find a map that you can play, some Orisa, some Diva, those types of things. So a lot of interesting decisions here potentially for TSM.
I know yesterday, Citrus Nation liked a Throne of Anubis, but it is TSM's pick, and they didn't get to pick yesterday because they kind of tore through Absolution, but they had a full hold on Gibraltar that looked good for TSM. So if they're going to stick with Vision, looking for a long-range DPS map, even something if you want to try a Widow map and really testing Chronic on that front could be fun.
Yeah, Clash is a bit of a wild card, right? Obviously our newest mode here in Overwatch 2, it kind of splits the map pool there with Flashpoint. If you feel like maybe another team is really good in Flashpoint, you also don't know how much teams have put. A new game mode comes in, right? You scrim it maybe a little bit, but also you probably think, we'll never see this, whatnot. Maybe there's teams that have kind of practiced it a lot, feel like they kind of have an advantage potentially in Clash. Looking at some of the escort maps, right? You think Junkertown's been a pretty good Wrecking Ball map, if that's what they would have liked to continue to play. We've seen teams that want to prefer the Wrecking Ball to kind of go towards that. None of the push, really. I mean, you're looking at we've seen it from teams on Midtown, we've seen it from teams on Junkertown, and then like you mentioned, maybe we see a wildcard, maybe we see a little bit of Clash.
Yeah, TSM, I mean, they're built of a team of a ton of people who are very, very flexible in terms of their hero picks. The big question mark is Riker and maybe finding a comfort spot for him. So I'm glad you brought up sort of the Hammond. That seems to be their niche, and also Orisa. But Riker is a longtime competitor, has been a sub on so many teams, and now he's like on this starting position. And I think he really wants to have a great end to the season, wherever that is for TSM. And so I hope they pick something good for him, whether it's the Hammond comfort pick or just maybe something Orisa, and really test out Zeb, because I think Zeb could be that question mark on Citrus's side.
Yeah, played quite well in map number 1. Did Zeb. I thought they made the right adjustments to kind of what TSM was throwing at them. I think that if you're Citrus Nation, you feel really comfortable going through the rest of the series, right? You have a really good idea of what they want to do on the other side for TSM. You know if they play the ball, what you're going to fall back on, and then you also feel like potentially your Orisa's setup's a tad bit better. It was like one, I believe it was Citrus Nightmare. Okay, so we are going to see Throne of Anubis, so it is a little bit of a clash. No favoritism here for TSM early on. Citrus Nation, I believe, also, like you mentioned, picked this. So we'll get our first clash here on the broadcast in NA.
Damn. Citrus Nation went all the way, though. It was 5-4 when they faced off against Team Z yesterday. So a very close affair, maybe something that TSM studied up on, but mostly you're picking maps based on your own strengths and where you're comfortable at. And both these teams have very similar hero pools, whether it's like the King bringing out the Genji, that's easily something Tap can do. And then you got Zeb, who can maybe pull out the Junker Queen. That's something he did on more push maps, on more flatter maps. But Zeb can have different looks, but it's whether how confident he is on it. So hopefully they pick something nice for Riker, who's actually going to be the one on the Junker Queen.
And Clash is a game mode that suits pretty well towards, like, you know, Rush kind of death ball type of comps, right? And kind of the nature it is. If you're new, maybe haven't played it, it's kind of like I was gonna admit, this is how old I am, Lemon. I was gonna be like, oh, it's like Momentum from Call of Duty, but you know, I don't even know when the last time they had Momentum or War in Call of Duty, but it's probably more like 5CP from TF2. Probably more of a topical game mode that you've heard of that's like it.
It is a marathon, not a race, and we'll put our canes away and talk about the old times another time, because the time is now for a team like TSM to catch up in the series. This is their map pick, and pairing this Junker Queen beautifully with King, who just needed more support on Control Center, and now you're seeing those looks, along with Vision, who's brought out this venture before to mainly chase and pressure down a Juno player, but now King gets caught out. The cleanse from Squid not coming in time, but TSM will still get a cap.
Yeah, a really impressive job for TSM being able to keep Riker alive early on. His health was so low. Obviously, the Queen can kind of heal herself with all the bleeds and that whatnot that come down, but a lot of the time, you know, Queen gets stuck in places, doesn't have a lot of cooldowns, and not a lot of self-survivability. It's a lot on the healers, and Squid and Lai are doing a great job early on.
Oh, that pull from Riker into the King dash. This is some amazing chemistry. And the comp makes total sense for TSM. This feels very prepped, especially for Citrus. And I'm wondering, with Vision's ult charge too, didn't get to see him too much in all the craziness, but Vision is getting a lot of value so far, but here is the retake now from Citrus Nation, but not able to establish themselves too much unless the Terror Surge comes out, and this finishes off the backline of TSM, who won't have a leg to stand on.
I mean, they're quite fortunate, right? That was looking like, you know, with Clash, one of the things that early on we've seen with it, just in Frank play, and then here, it can get pretty snowbally. So being able to kind of fight back and win that fight for Citrus Nation is huge, right? If TSM, I thought we had like a 2-second pause there. We just got but no, it's pause. If TSM wins that fight, right? You have your Venture ult, Genji played, Kitsune Rush, Rampage towards the end of the map. I mean, that is looking like one that TSM can win rather quickly. So that's a huge fight win there for Citrus Nation.
Yeah, with the Genji Junker Queen, this is very flashy. You gotta go for very quick engagements, and you gotta be able to execute on it, because if the Genji doesn't, there is no dash, there is no escapability. At least with the Junker Queen, you have someone to go down with you, or someone who can take the brunt of that damage. But so far, really great pulls with that Junker Queen. Now with the Orisa, you can anchor space for a lot longer, and you can even keep that space between you and the Junker Queen using those spears. So Zeb Still trying to find that footing, but it is a cap for Citrus Nation to tie things up 1-1.
Yeah, now we'll head back towards the middle of the map, get another fight over checkpoint C, where TSM in a good spot in terms of ult. That's right. I know the Venture, all of Venture's abilities, insanely strong inside of Kitsune Rush. Definitely provides a little bit more during that ultimate than Ashe. But you lose Tap really early, so you may not even need to invest that much here if you're TSM.
And Tap's not going to get as much support. Like, he doesn't not going to have that Junker Queen shout to keep him up. And now Tap's going to go to Afara, which concerns me on any point where you have to go through a doorway and there's any ceiling action. But Tap, it's going to swap to it anyway. Chronic with the Bob that's hoping to get things rolling. And speaking of rolling, Vision trying to see if he wants to deal with Zeb or wants to roll down the back, and it's just a bodyguard at the club. And TSM, this is a stride that can't be stopped, it seems.
Yeah, and he holds on to the tectonic shock for a little bit, where spacing out the shots of it, knocking a few players up on the choke, really separating everybody from Zeb. So that's their second point here as we move back to another fight over checkpoint B, where TSM, you subs Rampage, Blade. They don't have anything to deal with the Pharah, really. I know maybe like Juno can throw some shots at the Pharah, but not going to go battle the Pharah up in the sky. So that would be an advantage for Citrus Nation if they can just stay back, poke a little bit, and allow this Pharah to do some work.
Oh god, Tap couldn't get away fast enough. King is on his tail. He just gets to play follow the leader with Riker, who still has a leftover Rampage, and you got a Juno ult coming up, and this will be 3 points for TSM, with Citrus able to retake points at times with the right ults. And it's about letting TSM waste all their cooldowns and using that window of opportunity to exploit if you're Citrus, but tough one for sure, comp-wise.
I mean, you have a cleanse right for the Queen ult on the side of Citrus Nation. But if you do not get the cleanse off and it's like a good Queen ult with an orbital ray, I mean, the Queen is going to be absolutely unkillable, right? And then you get the shout, a little bit of speed. It's would be extremely difficult to deal with Riker. So, see, it looks like TSM just taking their time here. Not really in a rush, potentially just going to dart onto this point just yet.
And Citrus aren't getting the best of final blows because they just have 2 ranged DPS that are poking, and at least this can get them some space. And I guess Citrus are back on the point just due to that space creation. TSM are gonna have to heal up, and this will be a re-engage very soon.
Yeah, I think you're like almost fine just giving that up, right? You get the orbital ray out from Citrus Nation, so we'll go back and fight over D, where I think TSM, they probably feel way better now in this type of scenario, right? Double support ult, big advantage here, also with the Rampage to work with too.
I want to see Tap just dive bomb this backline. Liar if you can, Squid if you spot, no teleport. Tap has to convert on this barrage. Can't afford TSM to get another point. Citrus needs Zeb to get some toes on this point. There he is with the speed. He runs into a Kitsune rush from Squid as Riker waits for the right lineup for the Rampage. Citrus playing as safe as they can. Terra Surge from Zeb. His armor is popped though, and Citrus get hit by a 5-man Rampage from Riker. And that is all said and done for Citrus on this point. TSM though, they only have 2 left, and it's Chronic and his best bud holding it down for a second. Riker is just waiting out the Bob, and this will be a fight again.
Yeah, they gotta wait out for the Bob, right? There's nothing they can really do there. Now this is where TSM can move their way back onto the point. Tap gets hit, but he gets healed up actually here by Lucamino. They may be able to come back and recontest Citrus Nation with this orbital ray.
Good delay though from Chronic. Did what he could, thought the team could come back. Citrus can force another fight. Orbital Ray to guide them from Lucamino. TSM on the corner, but not able to find shelter in time. Zeb to the Junker Queen will show Riker how it's done, and with the Dragon Blade let loose, King can't get the finishing blows. Big supportive plays from Lucamino, the last one remaining. But it is Zeb, now an uncontested front line, that chops up the competition, and somehow Citrus steal away this point.
Yeah, it'll even things up at 3 points each. You can kind of see above the D on the scoreboard where it is. Liar just trying to reset himself. No way from the do so otherwise, as Chronic goes over to the Cassidy. So they want to play pretty aggressive with this Queen, but then also don't want to commit to like a full-on dive mirror, right? They want to play with that Cassidy, try and help protect that back line, make it difficult to dive.
Now this will be a difference of Junker Queen playstyle. Zeb a lot more passive, less confident on the Junker Queen, but I prefer a safe one than one that ints. So, you know, there's a silver lining to everything. But right now Zeb's trying to anchor on his half. He has a Kitsune Rush, and he immediately exits the building. So free point for TSM. Citrus will have to go through this choke point. They don't have the best of bolts to do it. Kitsune Rush right around the corner for neutral, but someone has to touch for Citrus Nation. It's gonna be Tap doing a bit of tap dancing, but it's TSM warding them away, waiting for Citrus to be at arm's reach before the ults come out. And the Rampage, Riker is at the back. TSM take care of the front. It's a paint sandwich that Citrus do not want to be part of.
Yeah, it's just everything thrown in there for TSM in that fight. So you see they'll move up to 4 points for TSM as 15 seconds here before this point unlocks. So Citrus Nation definitely going to be able to come back and fight this. As I'll take a look from Liar. Oh, actually, was he trying to just make it to the grab pad? And yeah, it doesn't actually fly up, so it doesn't actually want to be able to reset himself. Just missed. And look at this. TSM going on a little bit of a flank. They're not playing from the point.
Hey, replay ops doing Liar dirty there, but TSM trying to do something worse to Citrus Nation. On the chase is Riker, already spotting out that shout from Zeb. Now zoning away from the Deadeye. Chronic trying to see if they could sneak away a cap to send us into the final point. But TSM still contesting from multiple fronts. Zeb finding himself in the middle of it, needs this Rampage to puncture through, but he never uses it. Just the amount of damage from TSM overwhelmed them. Tons of chaos for Citrus, but the team will still hold without their tank. And it's up to Riker to buy more time for TSM to strike back at them. But with Tap still remaining, Citrus got the job done. Now there's 1 point remaining.
Yeah, we go to a final point here as TSM, you're just trying to get some of those ultimates out, right? For Citrus Nation to use some of those big key ultimates as they will end up having a Kitsune Rush here. So Zeb also holds on to the Rampage. We're going to have a Rampage on both sides. We'll see if like either of those can get cleansed off. I think TSM though, you probably just play a little bit slow and wait around for this double support ult plus blade combo. That's going to be the Kitsune Rush. It's going to back them up.
A great proactive push. Already got the cleanse out, so Zeb gets the Rampage, and Riker responds immediately, and it's whose ults are more impactful, as King can't keep the crown on long enough. He's met his match against Tap. Now, we look back at to the point to see what is remaining. It's Citrus with the numbers, TSM behind, and it was TSM that had such a strong lead on this map, like 3-1 points. They cannot afford this. TSM need to get back.
Yeah, the advantage here for TSM, though, is they do have that orbital array, right? So Liar dies really early in that previous fight. They'll use the ray to just kind of force Citrus Nation off of the point. They're going to have to come back here quick and re-engage.
It's a nice chess match. Citrus knowing they can give up that time. And now it's do or die with no ults on either side, depending on how long the fight goes. And killing neutral is big. King last minute swap to the fire, tries to be elusive in the air and poke and prod at all the sides until the seams come undone for Citrus Nation, who are down 2 and only 1 support still kicking. But Citrus still lurking around to contest this, to get all 5 members back up. Tap is on the Reaper. The emergency bell has been rung, but Citrus are nowhere to be found, and the map goes to TSM.
Yeah, Citrus Nation just wasn't able to get in and contest at the end. It was just back and forth. I think both teams kind of played that last point quite well in terms of just really being patient, right? Knowing when they can give up time, everybody regroup, you come back, and it's just TSM with just 1 extra big ultimate in the end. That orbital ray forces them all the way back. They're never really able to work through that choke again.
It's very fun to watch Tap and King just go at each other on the Genji. Whichever Genji is surviving the longest is really who's dictating the fight. I like that it seemed like TSM with their map pick, they came out with the set composition with the Genji, the Junker Queen. It's a very powerful combo at the early stage of the fight, and then Citrus ended up matching it. And I think Zeb looked pretty good, but also the Rampage values at the end got really chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of chaotic in general, right? I think seeing Clash, it's going to probably favor teams who I think they're pretty good at control, right? It's the same type of flow. I think you have to figure out, right? Like, because TSM, you have an opportunity to maybe finish the game there, pushing into the other team's spawn for that, checkpoint E, I think at that point. It's like, you probably have to figure out a way to make that really worthwhile, right? But I think, though, in terms of how the game mode plays out, looks at the pro level, a lot like Control, Chaos, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you have multiple angles of dives from like King's side, from TSM's side. When you have Vision who can go underground, King who can dash in with the shout from Riker, there was a lot of pressure that Citrus had to mitigate, and they did so well by just happily disengaging. You'll see this in many of the highlights, and just using their ults to get back in. I think Citrus came back from a decent enough deficit. I mean, it was 3-1 for TSM at some point until Citrus swapped up their comp, and were able to just fight for that last sliver of objective time and eventually win the fight to win the point.
Yeah, and I think if you're TSM, you show yourself that, hey, we can kind of hang with them in a rush style of mirror, right? It's not exactly like an Orisa head-to-head, but playing that Queen, they looked really strong. I know Riker got off to a fantastic start. I think right here, I mean, this is a huge opportunity where you get a nice rampage there from Zeb when the cleanse has already been used, right? So that was a window of opportunity there for Citrus Nation, just not able to capitalize in the end.
And this is an important match for TSM with everything on the line, but also revenge, which it was, we already said, Citrus Nightmare, Citrus Nation were the ones who knocked out TSM in the last bracket, and TSM haven't had a strong top 4 finish since the first stage, and this was their map pick. They came prepared, and they came out swinging.
Yeah, I mean, it's been ages. I know you were talking during the pre-show, like how far away even Stockholm still feels, and looks as, I mean, the first stage, I mean, that feels like a decade ago at this point. So yeah, like, TSM, it's time to really, they have an opportunity to take control of their own destiny, so to speak, right? You win this group, you get a little bit of advantage, right? We've seen them play some of the upper teams at the top of NA pretty close. Probably, you make top 3, you have a really good chance potentially of making Stockholm, right? You're right there. So this is like do or die time for them.
And this is for qualification, so, if you lose here, it's not the end of the world, but there's always a little rivalry on the line when you're the one, like Citrus were the ones to knock out TSM last stage, but Citrus had a good stage 2. Both teams not as great in stage 3, so trying to get back to that stardom or that performance that both these teams know they can do better than what they did last stage.
I'll say though, you get second in this group. I don't know who you potentially play, right? I know in the number 1 seeds for the main event, but hey, if it's Toronto Defiant, it is do or die. I mean,
yeah, true.
I mean that is you were staring there on the barrel of a loser bracket run to make it to Stockholm, pretty much. Barring Toronto just kind of crumbling, right? So. This is a really important series, like we mentioned, for both these teams. Citrus Nation will be their map pick. They will take us over to Runesapi. So Runesapi push in general pretty good for like these Orisa-based compositions. That's exactly what Citrus Nation wants to play.
These are big shoes for Chronic to fill, right? When Tap has been such a long time duo with Lethal, and Chronic came in last stage to fill those shoes, and there's a reason he's on this roster, made his name for really on the ladder, and then got proved himself to be a competitive player. Now he has to stand up to someone like Vision now on the Ashe. With a map as big as this, you're gonna have time to yourself, at least ideally, with only 1 Tracer on the field, to shoot away. So you gotta be impactful if you're Vision or Chronic.
Yeah, and we'll see how the Queen does here against the Orisa. The other day we kind of saw a matchup pretty similar to this, and it's really about getting the Junker Queen in position without having the Junker Queen kind of have to use all of the cooldowns to be able to do so. And you see that's going to be really annoying as actually Zeb takes out Vision early on, but it's really that spear that kind of connects with Riker, right? Just being pushed out of position, probably going to be forced to use some of the cooldowns to get back in position.
And we saw how kind of nicely coordinated Citrus are on reacting to those spears, because it seems like a short stun, but if you have an enemy around, that kill can be finished off quite quickly, as Vision found out the hard way, which forces him to the Mei to try and, well, I didn't think that would pair as well with the Hammond. I imagined there was some Orisa, but...
What in the world? Yeah, I mean, Mei, Ball, Genji, Brig Juno. This is a little bit of kind of like a fever dream type of comp, is that's going to be Riker falling there. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of Mei is actually really good playing Orisa comps. Like, you can play Mei, split off the other Orisa on the other side of things, right? I mean, maybe that's what they're trying to do, split off Zeb from the rest of the team. But I just don't really think that the ball, synergizes with it at all. Like, I think you could play, like, even if you wanted to play King on the Genji, you could play like Genji, Mei, and maybe an Orisa type of comp, right? I just don't know how the ball kind of fits in ideally.
Just hoping for a strong Blizzard ult, and then even then, you hope the Orisa doesn't have Fortify. So yeah, there's a lot of things that Orisa can counter against that Mei, including being able to eat her ult and whatnot. Vision able to use the ice block, but trucking away is Zeb, pulling everyone into the Terra Surge, and finishing off Riker is pretty big. Now TSM are left undefended, and that means free progress, which, by the way, while we're criticizing this TSM comp, there's also 90 meters for Citrus Nation.
Yeah, I mean, they're just kind of freely moving it throughout the map. So we'll see TSM now. They will make a change over to the Orisa. So I actually kind of like this comp. We see a lot of teams play the Juno Brig backline with the Orisa type of setup. We'll see if they can actually fight their way back into this one, or if they put themselves down so much. That is a rally and orbital array used at the same time there for TSM, and Zeb just gets blown up.
Yeah, the Brig pick huge to just be able to pack King so that he doesn't need a Junker Queen or any kind of thing like that. But also the rally became such a deadly ultimate in terms of that stun if you could catch someone like Tap. But for now, it's TSM that are just barely pulling through in these fights, and they have to surmount a 109-meter lead out of Citrus Nation, where this is Citrus Nation's map pick, and this is an Orisa-based map. This is Zeb's playground, and TSM finally got to the Orisa.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be able to see them take, fights here mid-map, and we're already, 4 minutes into this one, so a lot of time already off the clock here. There'll be a dynamite that connects there for Chronic, so it's going to put a little bit of healing pressure here on TSM as Vision takes a really big shot. They may go after this ice block.
Yeah, Zeb trying to pressure back, take that space while the ice block was happening. Great protection from Riker, as you want to wait for the Fortify from Zeb to use this Blizzard from Vision. That could be the end-all, be-all, and King gets cleaned up before the blade could come out, and the Blizzard doesn't get anyone.
Yeah, they're able to make it out of the Blizzard. Zeb just kind of ends up using the Spear Spin Fortify, just makes it on out. As nice Mei wall there, actually, keeping him inside of the Terror Surge there from Riker, but still not enough to finish off the Orisa of Citrus Nation. Is that's going to be your rally used there as well for TSM. So didn't really get, I mean, this is the hardest part. You give up so much meter at the start that now you have this massive fight that kicks off, and you didn't even gain anything for it, right? I mean, you used a bunch of ultimates, not even really close. So we'll see Lyre actually go over and play Ana here. So Ana, we've seen like reserve a lot of like Winston-based compositions with the Nano. Potential here, obviously to Nano the Genji could be quite strong.
Be a bit desynced, but depending on if King can actually blade this fight, the setup hasn't been there for him. He's been first picked. And now that Citrus are playing that far away, he may be able to creep up through a window and be aggressive, but now that he doesn't have a Brig, he also has to be careful what kind of line of sight he has with Squid and Lyre.
Yeah, Bob opportunity here from like an off angle for Chronic as well. He's gonna actually shoot straight through the window, so gonna go on a bit of a flank with that Bob.
King's like, I gotta dash out of here and do something while the Bob flies past me, and gets a whole lot of nothing done. Thought maybe when he spotted Vision and Lyre in range after the Bob was used, or the other team, Chronic, King couldn't get the assassination. And now this Genji is looking a lot more muted. And this is not working out for TSM, who have registered 0 meters in this entire map.
Yeah, I mean, we see teams, I was gonna say either like a Tracer here, right, for TSM. You also see teams, go with like a Mei look, right? You can play like Mei Tracer, we've seen at times, or even like Mei Ashe if you want to play really slow. But it'll be a pulse bomb there from Temp, doesn't connect with anything, so fortunate there for TSM to kick things off.
There's just always someone from Citrus lurking. Even when TSM looked like they have a pretty even fight, there's no bot control, and this could be a full cap situation if TSM don't find the secret sauce, and this may be the comp, but is it too late? King finally showing off, swapping to the Tracer, putting Tap in his place. This was a matchup I was looking forward to seeing, but once King got shut down, this was the swap that needed to happen. But coming back by 120 meters is quite a challenge.
Oh, I mean, a lot has to go right for TSM at this time, right? I mean, 3 minutes on the clock. You're gonna need Citrus Nation to kind of give this one up a little bit, right? You know, they're gonna need to help out in terms of the TSM comeback. But right there, I mean, Chronic with a headshot on the Vision. So there goes your long range hit scan, the dynamite, the heal pressure off the table here for TSM. Also Vision out of Bob, right? Would have been pretty awesome potentially. So now the bot will go back into TSM territory, back deeper into their territory. It's gonna be really tough, 3 minutes to battle back.
Yeah, definitely a tough map for Vision. Still trying to find his place on the team in terms of what hero to use. He's been hit by spears left and right from Zeb. His Vision has been a target and very accessible, but now his Bob is at the back, gets a cleanup on Tap. TSM have a number advantage. They gotta chase this down and be aggressive, but Zeb is just this unkillable anchor, and now with the Kitsune rush from neutral, it's gonna be even more difficult for TSM until they decide to use these support ultimates. Now here comes Liar with the rally, but not enough attention to someone like Vision, who takes yet another spear and a lot of damage from that front line. And it's hard to be far away enough from the fight yet still contribute. Vision will die, but at least King will take over.
Yeah, it burns like a few seconds off the clock. Finally, some progress here for TSM. But for Citrus Nation, you want to just keep taking these fights where it's going to force the ultimates out of the side of TSM, right? You get Bob, you get Rally, now you come back. You just really need potentially one fight where you just kind of stockpile some ultimates for Citrus Nation, you win it, and then you can kind of secure this map. So even though they lose that fight, I like the way they played it.
Can TSM go all the way? This is the type of momentum you want to ride. Pulse bomb from Tap, not connecting there. TSM with the orbital ray and a Terra Surge. Riker can pull someone in, maybe try to get them into that orbital ray damage. But for now, it's a lot of posturing where Citrus are okay with wasting all this time. They're the ones in this insane lead. There's the orbital ray from both sides. Citrus Nation trucking away with also the copied Bob, or at least a chronic Bob on the field. It looked copied for a second, but it's just Citrus glowing and thriving and in their lane.
Yeah, it's that orbital ray that just makes everybody look just about
like an echo dupe to
invincible.
me.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's like a metallic and invincible there. But it's where Citrus Nation, they start that fight, the orbital ray comes down. TSM is so weak going into it that even with that ultimate from Squid, it's not going to heal everybody up straight away instantly. It's going to take a little bit of time, and just didn't have that time to kind of battle on through it. So Citrus Nation, they'll actually back up away from the bot. They'll let TSM kind of get control of it, let TSM move it back here towards this middle of the map, and then you have a great opportunity to potentially use this Kitsune rush here for Citrus Nation to close it out.
Last 35 seconds. No ults for TSM, but Citrus needing to not trip over at the finish line. Not yet. All they have to do is keep Zeb alive, and he's below half and has no armor. And with all that focus going into Zeb, King gets into the back, duels Tap. And yeah, he gets the edge there, but is this gonna be enough for TSM to go from 38 meters to 120? Okay, TSM will take a fight here, all started by King, finished by King, and his Tracer is doing great, but now there's no time left. Perfection is demanded from TSM.
Yeah, I mean, it gets them moving in the right direction, and there King able to deal with a few players. Starts by taking out Tap. Tap wasn't even like looking at him. I think was probably a little bit surprised that King kind of coming on that flank as Tap gets to the bot, just kind of touching it there. 4 seconds, slowing down any type of progress here for TSM, as man, that TSM needs to be more than perfect.
King needs this pulse to be big, and hey, taking care of Zeb, even if it doesn't stick, killing Zeb is a huge win condition for TSM. There will be nothing standing in their way now, especially dealing with the supports afterwards. So TSM with back-to-back fights. Hold on, everybody.
I mean, this isn't impossible where we sit at the moment, right? TSM moving the bot deeper. You know, they get that checkpoint now. They move deeper into Citrus Nation territory. They're going to have that double support ult where you just have Blue Camino. For Citrus Nation with that orbital ray coming online here in a second. So having that extra support ultimate could be huge, especially, you know, with being a rally, right? Fighting inside the rally, really powerful there for TSM. Oh, can't start
And
that way,
the
though.
bomb! Everything thrown at Riker. Both teams realizing you gotta take care of that central pillar, and Riker falls, and that opens up the rest of TSM to all the damage and all the love from Citrus Nation, who take the map and now go to series point.
Yeah, you were probably fine losing, almost anybody else there at the start. Probably not either of the supports, but, you lose your tank, Riker there. I believe he's Terror Surge. I mean, that is a brutal way to kick things off. I think you just take some damage from the Bob, some other players as well. And then the pulse bomb, there's no way you can account for that burst damage that's coming on down from the supports, right? Probably would have seen the rally or the orbital array used if that pulse bomb doesn't come down, keep him alive. But pulse bomb there looks good, it connects, does enough damage to take out Riker, and that's where things fall apart.
Hey, TSM just looked competitive just too little too late, and I talked about how they could, all these players, mainly the DPS, can play anything.
Yeah.
And out of all the things they played, sometimes they ended up on the Mei and the Hammond and all types of stuff, so it ended up being a jack of all trades moment that finally became the masters of their best heroes, but that kind of productivity came way too late for TSM.
Well, I think TSM kind of screwed themselves a little bit, right? I mean, they kind of go with this ball composition for a little bit too long. They sort of, win some fights and make some progress when they actually went over and just played almost a little bit of a mirror, right, against Citrus Nation. I think if you switch that a little bit earlier, you probably don't fall behind as heavily, and you may be able to make a little bit more of a comeback.
That is the comeback TSM hope to do on their next map pick to try and force Game 5. And for the past to repeat itself, maybe, if they can go all the way, just like they did in Stage 3 lower bracket. But Citrus Nation looking like they're going to have the last laugh. And Zeb, I think, is a huge proponent to making or breaking these fights and how long he can live. And I think TSM started to figure out that maybe at times Zeb can be left unattended and he can be punished. And once Zeb is done, everything falls apart for Citrus Nation. But how could I even say that when they started off the map 120 meters? Like, it's definitely not a Citrus Nation that you have to doubt at all.
No, exactly. And with the way the meta's gone, we thought it was maybe going to go in favor of like a Ramatra style rush, but it is Orisa. Orisa has been the tank to go to here, in our final stage of the OWCS, where you kind of look around. It's like, okay, like we haven't seen Orisa in a very long time in terms of the meta. Like we see teams trying to play some Junker. We still see teams play some dive on certain maps like Gibraltar and whatnot, but it feels like at this point you're going to have to play the Orisa if you're going to be one of the top teams.
And just looking at the stats, you see way more damage out of Citrus Nation, but very similar deaths on both sides. So Citrus being able to finish off their kills. I mean, a lot of them, I know I'm not trying to flame anybody, but a lot of the first picks, first bloods from Citrus Nation were finding where Vision was on the Ashe, spearing him, killing, and just pouncing on any low HP target that Zeb would set up. So I think just a lot of these fights swung that way, causing panic and probably frustration from TSM to go to a mayhem, and like that doesn't make any sense. And this is people just throwing everything at the wall and eventually TSM composing themselves at the end and getting the right comp going. But like I said, way too late.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little bit late there for TSM. They're gonna need to figure out something, right? Because I know right after this quick break, we'll get another TSM map selection, and their group stage life on the line here. So don't go anywhere. We got that map coming up right after this. right, welcome back, OWCS Stage 4 Week 1 Groups. TSM, Lemon Kiwi, they're in a lot of trouble, it feels like to me, as they lose that last map to Citrus Nation. Citrus Nation looks really good playing these Orisa, but that TSM map pick comes in. A little bit more of a dive-centered map here on Gibraltar.
This is a big one for TSM. I'm hyped up for this. I think we're going to 5 just based on the map. TSM full held absolution on this yesterday. And you know, what kind of challenge TSM faced is a different story, but very much a comfort pick. Expect a Tracer and some kind of long range DPS to probably Vision on the Ashe or the Widow. I'm excited for this. I wanted to see if Vision was gonna be confident enough to bring out the Widow, because this is can be a hot or cold type of hero.
Yeah, this is a map where we see a lot of Widowmaker play. We see like Ashe at times when we get into the second part of the map, controlling the top of the ship. And then this is where we see most of our Winston Overwatch at the moment. So we get to see you know, some Winston play amongst these teams as just kind of superior controlling that high ground. With the Winston, you also see the Ana in play, because I mean, so it feels like you need the Nano, as we'll get this one kicked off right away. But Juno's so strong, that ultimate's so strong, I think teams may even start trying to do this without the Ana in play.
As an Ana main, playing this on attack is so pain. Just the dive is right in front of you, and you need to play out of sight, out of mind, while also maintaining vision of your Winston. Speaking of that, Kuffa in the lineup now getting antied. Already gets back on his feet as Citrus gets some initial progress. And we mentioned Vision on the Widow, but he's going up against Chronic, who he was well known. One of his first heroes he was well known on was the Widow. So we'll see how that matchup goes too.
Yeah, great start getting a first pick, especially on the Tracer on the other side of things, right? As Riker gets really low, they're going to lose him as well. So those are like the 2 heroes that you could have sent down to the payload to kind of keep this one from moving on forward. So 2 big losses early for TSM.
Now it's a fight for the server room. Kuffa at least identifying where the supports are, and mainly that Widow, which very accessible by Kuffa. He's going to go dive Vision and push him out of the fight. Meanwhile, Riker could do the same thing, but taking initial damage, popping that armor, forces Riker to take a step back. And around the corner, he gets antied and couldn't be brought back up to full health, and Tap is on the hunt. That gives Citrus Nation the cap.
The payload just does not stop the entire time through the first part of the map here for Citrus Nation. Making it look easy here against TSM, as you lose King early on, then you lose Riker, then you lose another player straight away. When this final fight kicks off, you never have an opportunity to really contest the payload. So Citrus Nation with a lot of time here moving into the second part of the map.
Yeah, the picks were cute out of Chronic, but TSM wasted no time getting established on the top ship, and even somehow pouncing on Citrus Nation's backline, who maybe felt a sense of security, thinking they could get some initial headway. Now TSM go deeper and deeper. Vision gets a W against Chronic, and for Citrus to lose momentum on point B, this is pretty difficult to get through point B Gibraltar through these doorways.
Yeah, and also we didn't have an opportunity to highlight it, before this map, but we do have some subs, right, for Citrus Nation. So Kuffa comes in, right? The first time we've seen Kuffa here today. We're gonna come in, play a lot of the dive tanks, where you have Zeb in to play a lot of the Orisa. So a little bit of a change up here for Citrus Nation.
Kuffa, can he help Citrus Nation finish off the series on a good foot to get themselves qualified? And he's got the primal, but it's about how you can get your Ana into a safe position, rather up the stairs on the high ground ideally, but towards the right Megapack side, or at least pressure the backline enough if you're Citrus Nation, where the attention is going to be on protecting themselves if you're TSM, and not on diving neutral. For now, Kuffa, though, went a little bit too deep, a little too close to the sun, and Citrus will have to reset.
Yeah, this is one of the harder parts of the map to end up pushing on through. They tried to make it a little bit easier, adding some of the side flank routes like you're seeing here, but still extremely difficult when one team can control the top of the ship. So already a little bit more than a minute off the clock than what Citrus Nation had, but they do have the Nano. Maybe you can like Nano the Winston, send them up to the high round, open up some space.
Oh, the Nano break just to lock down Riker, but needed to get more initial damage before maybe the stun could get the execution, or at least set up the execution that was intended for Riker. Now this rally just gets Citrus into a healthy spot, and then King is let loose, but the card is being pushed to the end. King versus Tap will force Tap to be back, and he's used recall. Riker waits to jump to maybe go and punish this Tracer, and TSM almost gets C9, but they're okay.
Yeah, it's, they're just gonna have to wait a little bit. I don't think Lucamino has like any more packs left. Using them on the Tap and Kuffa, keeping them alive as now you can send back up to the high ground. Is you do have to be careful, like you mentioned. The opportunity for a back cap here is definitely scary.
Tap not connecting on the pulse bomb, but his presence is felt on the card, trying to hide on the right side. King marking him perfectly and making sure that Tap has to recall and use blinks to escape. And this could be where Riker and friends chase him down. And then Chronic and Vision will have to face off once the bubbles get out of their way, and Vision needs maybe a nice spot on top of the ship, and Kuffa's done a great job to try and deny that. Now with the Primal, he's got Liar in a corner who has to rally to keep himself alive, and he barely does. Now a wasted rally, but a risk that Liar needed to take. Now Citrus may just be able to break through to point B.
Yeah, he absolutely needed to live there. Gets a little bit of help with like a bio from Squid, but still just a lot of pressure onto Liar in that corner in the top of the ship, and took a while there, but Citrus Nation able to force control over that high ground once TSM has to play from below the ship, and then it's really easy for Citrus Nation to take control of that part of the map.
And Chronic, ooh, this is some spicy Widow play. He kind of goes unnoticed, but at the end he'll get a few headshots, and if he could do that at the start of the fight, that would be even better. Now now both teams have Vision only on one team, but Citrus now has Nano onto Kuffa, going in pretty deep, and you got Squid low, great finish, and Vision accessible, won't be able to get back in the spot, just barely. Kuffa could have definitely zapped him either way. Citrus have a great start built up.
Yeah, it's still huge, just isolating these players in the back by the spawn, right, from Kuffa, as Riker's forced to use Primal because knows he's not going to be able to get any healing because these players are just pushed so far back into their spawn by Kuffa. As it's going to be Riker now getting the benefits of the nano boost, pushing on forward. Kuffa's also going to have a Primal Rage back by the spawn.
TSM back away, pulls from Tap right at the feet of Vision, who's on Bastion of all things. The emergency has already been declared, but Kuffa takes care of it with the Primal, and Citrus were able to come back, give up the space, deal with Riker, deal with the rest, and it's a minute 38 on the clock for Citrus.
Yeah, looking really strong. I mean, making the substitution, bringing in Kuffa, but this team looks to be on maybe a little bit of a different level when it comes to a little bit more versatility, it feels like, than TSM. In terms of what they can do in terms of lineups and meta at the moment. I think you're going to probably need to see a really big Widow half here from Vision to set as good of time, if not better, because Citrus Nation, you finished this map with a minute 38. Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, it could have been better, could have been worse. I mean, TSM had a stronghold on Gibraltar B, and it all came down to Kuffa. Kuffa's Primal inside of ship, and supports from TSM just having to avoid a Widow, run away from a Tracer, and then a Winston. So I don't blame Liar for trying to just find any sense of safety, and then unfortunately finding himself in a corner against a Primal, which that opened things up for Citrus to finally cap, and then that turned into a snowball. And honestly, it could have been even a bigger time bank if Citrus would have just came out the gates of point B swinging even more.
Well, these Widow maps, right? Once the Widowmaker comes into play, just one pick off ends up just giving up a ton of progress of the payload. So just how important the Widowmakers are, especially being able to get those first picks just about easier than anybody else. Definitely comes down to them in a lot of situations.
Another Widow map, and Chronic doing quite well when he was on the other side, where usually the defensive Widow has a lot more options of positions to sit in, and just that mystery is an element, is an advantage, is an edge against the enemy Widow. But for now, Vision has no idea where Chronic is. Could be at the back of A, could be under the underpass. So it's Vision having to be very careful, and also wanting to contribute to not just focusing down the Widow, but getting shots on everyone else too.
Yeah, and the most important thing for Citrus Nation's offense, right, is they were able to get a pick on the Tracer really early, then the Winston. Those are the two players who are going to be like contesting the payload, preventing it from moving up uncontested, where you have your Tracer alive on the defense or your Winston, you can send them back down to the cart, just keep it contested, like a little bit of a 1v1 scenario. Not able to get a lot of progress, as that'll be Kuffa taking out Vision there early on. So now you lose your big long-range damage dealer.
And Chronic is playing in a safer position all the way deep into A, and so he won't be as diveable by Riker, but he's not going to have the best of sightlines to be as impactful as he would hope, at least what Chronic did on the previous side. Now TSM meters away from capping, with Riker playing bodyguard, with King up there too, and Kuffa will have to bully his way through, and he barely has any armor to stand, and King wants to make sure he stays in his place. There is still someone contesting. Kuffa will have Primal. This has really great stall potential for Citrus. The ante will limit the time that he has, but Kuffa is also able to depend on Lucamino and this backline to anchor the front of the payload, but a pulse bomb rips them right open, and King surely has sealed the deal for TSM.
Losing Squid is going to be pretty tough though, right? You lose Squid, now you lost Liar, that's all your healing gone. So it looks like that's a nano actually on the tap there to stop that push from going on through. So TSM gets so close, just about as close as you possibly can from taking that first checkpoint. Stopped at that final moment there by Citrus Nation, and it's going to be tough for Citrus Nation to hold on right here on this first checkpoint, given where it's at and with some of the ultimates available for TSM. But still, just bleeding more clock with that extra time bank is huge.
Yeah, that should have been capped for TSM, and time is of the essence and what they're really battling against. TSM were just that close to the finish line, but then got surrounded by the defenders of Citrus Nation above and to the sides as Riker now gets slept, and he's out of the fight. And TSM don't have a frontliner, so it's King maybe versus Tap around the cart, with now the rallies coming into play, with Tracers playing dodgeball against the stuns of these rallies. But greater chemistry coming out of TSM, just needing to take care of Tap. Good delays, but eventually TSM will cap. It's about at the minute mark, which is slower than Citrus, but it's all about how they address point B.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit of a late rally there from Lucamino, not early enough to keep Kuffa alive, and they lose Kuffa, and then you just kind of have a rallying Brig, the one on the point, to stand up to the opposing team, and just not going to be able to live through all that damage. It's going to come down from all the different directions. You absolutely needed that Winston there. Nice bio on a Riker. That's going to force him back a little bit. It's going to allow Citrus Nation to get control of this high ground.
Yeah, carrying that momentum for TSM from point A to point B. That's where Citrus lost a lot of time on their attack, and where TSM can make up from that deficit. Now there's counter dives happening. We'll look and see how TSM are dealing with Kuffa, who has a primal, so he can keep playing deep, and somehow Vision is just not being pressured enough to get away with winning a duel against Chronic. Is interesting. King's Pulse, now he finds his way to the back. The support's in trouble for Citrus, but Lucamino fends for himself. That's exactly why you put him on Brig.
Yeah, it's a massive fight win there for Citrus Nation. They get control of high ground yet again. Tap takes out King in the spawn, so you're gonna have to wait for your Tracer here for just a little bit to come on back, but this allows you to get this type of position. This is going to bleed a lot of time off the clock, as TSM, you had a position there where you had some ultimates, you were on high ground already, you win a fight there, you can continue to move that payload, and then Citrus Nation never gets control of high ground again. Now you've given it all back up. This is a pretty good scenario for Citrus Nation.
Just Bree should not be getting double kills either. Like, that felt like a TSM fight win, with the Widow being uncontested there from Vision, with Kuffa letting some people go. TSM, it's tough to find their footing. Now a Widow dub for Citrus. And it's the numbers that favor TSM, but they're stuck inside this tiny room with Kuffa with the primal. He hears the rally though and doesn't want that smoke. Just kidding, eats an ante, dodges asleep, and that should be the end of Squid, depending on if Kuffa can play his cards right, if he can juggle the Anas right. And it works out for Kuffa, and this defense starts to stabilize, but it's almost at the end of the road for TSM. They can just pull through, but Riker can't reconnect with Liar when Squid fell, couldn't use the nano in time, and TSM were so close, but no cigar.
Yeah, they're forced off the high ground there, Citrus Nation, but it's the nano boost on the Kuffa and then the big primal rage. It's actually a sleep that gets hit by Squid. I think he just gets woken up, Kava. I don't know exactly by who, but it gets woken up. And then that spells bad news for Squid. You do have a nano boost available here for TSM. Maybe use it on a Riker to try and take control of that high ground yet again.
That, or if King goes X Games mode, if he's in that really good position in Lucamino neutral's face. But yeah, the default is Riker and Vision. Eats a pulse for breakfast. It's a 4v4, so TSM don't want to waste any time establishing themselves on ship, while Kuffa at the back looks to pounce on someone like Squid. So Squid may want to be proactive with this nano, gives it to Riker, and this ship is theirs. Can he get the finish on the neutral? There's really good supportive play from Lucamino to keep neutral going while Riker was all up in his face. But now you don't have Kuffa. He's not able to use Primal, and TSM have 6 seconds left. This should be a cap unless Tap wants to come and touch. So he does, and he doesn't even get to recall. So surely this is the end, but you just nanoed the raid boss. It's Lucamino. He almost has rally, pops it immediately, and this is salvageable for Citrus Nation with closer spawns.
Yeah, you have Primal available here for Kuffa as well, but as soon as you lose the Brig, you're gonna end up holding on to it. I think they probably even could have held on to some of these ultimates, right? You go into OT, it feels like you kind of completed your mission, where there's no way TSM's gonna have a better time, right? Now all you're looking at is maybe you get a kill coming out of the spawn here for Chronic, slow things down, and you're in a great spot to get a map win here. You're gonna see a Zen, okay.
Submissive and diveable for sure for Lucamino. So he's got to play out of sight. He's got to play in another country. And TSM, he's going to be a prime dive target. But if Lucamino goes untouched, these Discord orbs could be the end of Riker. He has a primal though, but sometimes the burst can catch you off guard. For now, it's Kuffa that can play aggressive with the primal, and maybe doesn't want to use it yet. He ends up not trusting his supports, so now Kuffa has to go for a play. He gets slipped and woken up. So Citrus keep on citrusing, I guess, and the defense holds on.
Well, they take out Lyra through rally, so that's quite huge there for Citrus Nation. That's actually a bio grenade that comes in from neutral, so nice job there, Citrus Nation. 20 seconds left here for TSM to make a play.
They have the ults to do it. Squid with the nano needs to be able to use this tap. If you could be proactive with this pulse bomb, could take out some of these ult options. Tap with the pulse on the Lyre. I thought it hit a shield, but that's exactly what Tap needed to deliver. And now TSM are down a man. Riker was able to primal, didn't get the nano yet, and is out of sight from Squid. Lyre will be able to teleport back with the Kiriko swap. Now the nano from Riker, he gets a second win, and he's got the access to Lucamino, who built up a transcendence within that one fight. TSM now have no other ult options and no Widow to try and get at this backline to strike through Lucamino or neutral. It's all up to Riker, and Squid is cut off by a Winston bubble, so Riker cannot be healed or sustained in the final moments of TSM's offense. So it's all up to King and how much time he can buy delaying the cart.
Yeah, now you have everybody here coming back for TSM. Riker gonna get back on that ball. So Tap gets bioed, gonna have to use the recall there. It's coming down to the absolute wire here for TSM. It'll be in for sight available here for Chronic.
Chronic sees the ball coming, avoids it. Riker with a pile drive, but took so much burst so quickly, and the post didn't even get thrown yet. Tap at least misses that bomb. Chronic with vision knows where these supports are hiding, and it's just hide and go seek with Squid not able to touch at the end. Citrus Nation take the series.
Yes, Citrus Nation, they come up clutch in the end. Not enough for TSM on their offense. If Citrus Nation would have lost that, one of the funnier things would have been neutral actually using the nano on the transcending Zen there instead of giving it over the Winston. So that would have been quite funny to see. But Citrus Nation, no, they come in, they take care of business here against TSM, looking really strong, multiple different looks.
Yeah, I also agree, Matt. You mentioned how Citrus Nation, they seem to be more versatile. I think that really came into clutch, especially having that really good Winston at the very last map, Gibraltar. I think that was a very clutch move from Citrus Nation. It was really close and very entertaining match overall, I feel like.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching both the Widows have their shining moments, because sometimes people pick Widows and you don't see them ever on the kill feed or anywhere else. And to be able to adjust their positions based on how much fear they had of the Winstons and still how much impact they had when they were getting chased by those Winstons. So that was a fun matchup in itself.
Yeah, I think both these teams feel about even in terms of like player skill and whatnot. I think that like even TSM, right, a different meta, they're probably an opportunity to take Citrus Nation. I just think with what is currently the meta and what you kind of have to play, it feels like Citrus Nation has a better grasp or a better kind of roster in terms of like what you actually need right now to be able to do these types of things. But I feel like you could replay this match like 5 different times, and maybe it comes out like 3-2 Citrus Nation. It feels like these two teams are pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, despite TSM choosing Gibraltar, Citrus Nation had a Winston expert. They subbed in Kuffa, who I think had a better performance against Riker in terms of bubble placements. I think Squid was, especially at the end, not able to deliver those really important heals to Riker because of the bubble placements from Kuffa. But you gotta commend Riker. He's pulled out the ball, the Junker Queen, the Orisa, the Winston. He has to do it all. That's a lot of weight on Riker's shoulders. And he did what he could to be a stable leader for this team when, especially on Runasapi, this was a weird look at a TSM.
Yeah, I think this was probably the oddest moment for TSM of the series. I think just here on Runasapi, I think this map actually probably would have been way closer. Obviously you fall behind 120-0, like it's really difficult to make it close. But I think if you would have saw them move to something almost like mirror like right away, I think you would have had a better opportunity to make that one close for TSM.
Oh my god, Chronic. We're just gonna watch him shoot.
I'm down.
Getting that through.
I got popcorn.
Yeah, no, Chronic on that Widow was something else as well. It was very, man. I think Citrus Nation is an exciting team. I think they definitely have the chance to make it, far into the tournament.
Well, you give yourself an opportunity now, right? You get a #1 seed coming out of groups, right? Really important probably for Citrus Nation now, knowing they go up against one of the 2 seeds, which you feel like they have a big advantage over.
Yep. And we're looking at the player of the match. This one goes to Chronic. I mean, yeah, like we said, the stuff that he did on Widow, fantastic stuff. Definitely a really great head scan player.
I think Chronic stands out with how much heat that Vision took, just being thrown around by Zeb's Orisa on a few maps, forcing Vision to just change to so many different things, while Chronic, I think he paired up well. I like the Sombra swap to match with his Tracer. That helped kind of deal with the ball, but Chronic also just had a lot of freedom to sit back on the Ashe or any hit scan he wanted, and to just focus on his mechanics. And if you can give your DPS that moment of freedom, this is a team effort to make Chronic look good.
Yeah, a lot of Gibraltar comes down to the Widowmakers, and Chronic definitely played well on this map, a lot of the maps throughout the series as well, being asked to play a lot of different heroes all throughout, and some of these shots are just sick.
Jeez.
Can you do